let's do a little bit deeper of a dive here. We talked about all the different categories up here. We talked about survival, we talked about saga and what that is, and we're going to get a little bit further into the saga, and what's important about that is classes. Classes do not exist outside of the saga mode, and this is what's important to me, is everyone likes to have that role. A nice key component of gameplay that drives players' interest and retention is going to be how much they fit into a team and what their responsibilities are. It gives them definition and identity, which is players really, really like and love to have. So here are 8 different classes. We have Warrior and Berserker, which are designed to kill things quickly. We have Ranger and Hunter, which are designed to go out and find things. We have the Guardian and Sentinel, which are both designed to defend our friends and be a defensive style, you can't kill me. And then we have Seer and Warden, which are 2 support types that are meant to aid our other heroes in any way possible that they can. So, talking about the class challenges, I'm going to nitpick here because everyone loves a nitpick, right? So, Warrior. Deliver 10 blows to Jotnar in a Saga mode. Well, 10 of those for one piece seems like a pretty good landmark. Kill 10, get a piece. Kill 50, have the whole set. Let's crunch some numbers on that real quick here, friends, and see what kind of a goal this is. You have 15 minutes in between each Jotun spawn. So, say that you want to do just a non-stop onslaught of Jotuns. It is going to be 12 and a half hours. You can't get any faster than that, unless you're somehow able to get in and out of people's saga mode where the Jotuns already spawn, which, spoilers, you can't do that. There's no mid-game joining, it's when you begin, there's just matchmaking. Especially not after the first Jotun spawn. So, that being said, you're looking at minimum 12 and a half hours. Seems like a fairly good landmark. 12 and a half hours to get through a full set of armor. Yes, I've played 12 and a half hours minimum. We'll call it roughly an extra 10 minutes per match. You're only going to get through, we'll say 4 Jotun, because getting through a 5th one's extremely difficult and is designed as such. So we'll say 60 minutes a match, so we'll say 70 minutes a match to get through 4. Well, you're looking at a nice additional hour plus or so. But anyway, the point being is that 12 and a half hours minimum, we'll call it 15 just for rounding, is going to be our target for a quote-unquote mastery appearance. Okay, so let's go to Ranger, who's definitely designed and built to be a bow wielder. We can even look into his skill tree just for a second. Bow, 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 bow. Yep, that's saying bow user to me, so that makes sense. So yeah, how long does it take to kill 700 creatures? Well, in my experience, it's about 500 to 800 creatures killed in a single run. Well, a run takes about 2 hours, so you're looking at 2 hours times 10, so about 10 hours. All right, a little bit easier than our good friend the Warrior, but still not something super quick. It's still going to take a while to get 3,500 kills. All right, moving down. All right, Guardian, use pain release to stun creatures 500 times. Okay, let's go see pain release. Alright, so you can get that fast level 3, and at the absolute slowest level 5, you're guaranteed to have it. Alright, so, oop, that's not what I meant to click. Here we go. Let's see where we left off. So 500, alright, so seems fairly reasonable. Take a couple hits, release it, probably get 6 guys. This took me about 4 runs to get through, so I was looking about 8.5 hours to clear this one. Alright, so even easier than our Ranger one, and, well, a whole lot faster than our warrior one. Okay, that seems to get a little weird. Seer. Deploy 800 seedlings in Saga mode. Well, you already know, considering how all the other ones done, except for this guy, that it's probably pretty tough, especially considering how me as a player, my two classes I really enjoy to play is the Ranger, when I'm playing by myself, and the Seer when I'm playing with friends. So from that you can deduct one of two things. Either one, I don't have a whole lot of friends and I never play with friends, or two, the Seer is very hard to get. Well, let's go take a look. How far into the tree is it? Why, it's the first skill. This doesn't bode well. What's not noted is that the Seer seedling, you can only have one active at a time, and it lasts for 15 seconds with a 5-second cooldown, meaning the absolute fastest you can generate these things is at 20 seconds per seedling. 20 seconds times 800 times 5 comes out to roughly 44 hours worth of just pure attacking. Wow. That is a far cry from everything else we've seen so far. 8 hours, 10 hours, 15 hours, 44 minimum. So you're easily looking at 50 to 55 to reality 60 hours to get the Seer. Okay. On one hand, from a designer perspective, I love the idea that you need 60 hours to get a full set of armor. It makes it so prestigious and so flashy when you show up into a lobby and you show off your full Seer set and everyone goes, ooh, this guy knows what he's doing. Because, spoilers, players love that kind of stuff. They love to flex on other players, especially with cosmetics. It's one thing if you flex your pocketbook by showing up with a $500 item. It's another thing when you show up and flex with your 44-hour accomplishment. So, on one hand, I do like that. On the other hand, I would feel really bad. Well, I do feel bad because playing as a Seer player, it takes forever to get it, while I, in my free time, got all the other ones, except Warden. So, alright, some scaling needs to be done. I, from a design perspective, would love to see all of these about the same difficulty. Granted, deploying seedlings, super easy. Using Pain Release, a little bit tougher. Using Bow, super easy. Killing Jotnar, if you're in a big party and you have some people that aren't cooperative, then okay, I can see that being tough. But turns out playing by yourself makes the game really easy, and that's kind of the only way I play these days. So, Berserker, use Striking Fear to stun creatures 600 times in Saga mode. Let me show you how deep into the tree that is before we get too sidetracked. That is level 2, 3, 4, 5 is the soonest you can get is level 5. Even at level 5, I still was able to get this one in 3 runs, and I could have done it in 2 had I remembered to save and quit and check, because I just bailed out early. Pretty much every time you kill something, everything around it, you get credit for stuff remaining. So if you kill goblins one at a time, and there's, say, 20 of them standing by, well, it goes by kind of quickly. This one was really pretty easy as well. Kill stuff with a certain skill. Yeah. It was the first one I completed. Second one, actually. Because the first one I did was the Hunter, because I thought it would be the most difficult. We talked earlier in the other section how easy it was to... or how terrible traps are, effectively. I didn't really cover that too much, but we showed that there are 4 jars and 1 landmine. The landmine is useful because you just use like a grenade. They step on it, they take damage, it explodes. It's wonderful. It comes with a weak, you can make it stronger. Not really worth it because it destroys the weapon, and taking the time to set up the traps is quite difficult. But it's not an easy thing to do, because once you set it down, then you can equip it. You don't get to carry them around like landmines. It's just easier to get a big old stack of them. Now, maybe there's something that makes the Hunter even better at using traps. Let's take a look. You have this pushback, which increases the pushback the last melee combo attack. That makes them take a step back and give them a little push to make your Dreams come true for stepping into a trap. And then you get an extra trap. Well, most of the time, if they're stepping in a trap, they're coming towards you. You kind of don't want to set up a trap behind them and then have them not run over the trap, and then you have to push them back into it. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So because of that, you're pretty much just using landmines, and this took me about 4 runs, so looking at, again, about 8 hours. So 6 hours, less than, is about 5.5, so 8 hours. So yeah, in reality, we're averaging about 10 hours, between each of these, with the exception of our good friend the Seer. So, alright, 10 hours for each class kind of makes sense. Alright, I can see it. Adept of Sin, this one was done in 90 minutes. Because turns out using shield throw right now is extremely strong, and having it ricochet, and when you have 2 shields, you do things faster, make stuff deader. Throw shield again, and they just die. Especially considering how due to the current quote-unquote meta, if you will, or the what I would call the solved solution for the game, is to run a Sentinel with a rune that you can get called Nothing to Wield, meaning as long as you don't have a main hand, you do extra damage while punching and using spells. Well, unfortunately, the shield throw counts as a spell and scales off your shield, so it's effectively you do have a weapon. So you're doing almost 5k per hit, which is insanely strong considering how a good strong hit is 1500. So way outclassed by everything else, or way outclasses everything else. So 500 creatures was easy. This was done by day 10, and it's not like you start with the shield throw either. You get it at level 3. So yeah, that one was very easy. Again, 90 minutes, 44 hours. I would definitely be having that on my radar big time for the scaling. I'd either make this a whole lot tougher, easily times 10 as many creatures, or I'd be dropping the numbers of the other ones as well. Then we get down to Warden, which I will cover here in the next section, my opinions on all the classes and what they are. This one says, hey, I can gather runes. Well, the only benefit that the poor Warden actually gets to runes is they have one thing that says they get an extra rune slot, which is, well, neat, but doesn't make them any better or worse than any other class to gather runes. So I don't really know, 1, how this shows mastery, and 2, I think it kind of proves the point that they don't know what they're doing with Warden, because it doesn't really serve a purpose right now. So I digress. The point being is that 35 runes was the max I've ever gotten on a single run. On average, you get about 20. Crunch those numbers, you're looking on average maybe, we'll call it a good run, say 30, so 2 hours times 30, so 8 hours times 5, 40 hour. Okay, so 40 hours, 90 minutes, 10 hours, 8 hours, 44 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours, 15. So as you can see, there's a pretty big scaling difference. I would definitely have this on my roadmap. 1, I'd have the Warden more appropriate to what it's doing. 2, I would make the shield throw, make this a much higher number. Definitely for the Hunter, I'm fine with them using traps. I would love to see more trap play come out of the Hunter, but right now, they're not technically any better or worse than any other class at using traps, other than the fact that they get an extra 2, which is okay. It's not amazing. Berserker's great. Seer, just multiple seedlings would probably help if you're trying to pick up the pace, or just overall less seedlings, or even just a number of health recovered from seedlings would also be nice. Encourages bigger games. Play with 10 people, goes faster. Play by yourself, takes a long time. Guardian Pain Release is perfectly fine. Using Bow to Defeat, it's a little unoriginal, but we get it. I'll come back to it later, but Ranger is one of our forgotten classes that no one really cares about. So, well, that's going to wrap it up for class challenges. all of these videos were recorded during a stream, so the endings are going to be a little abrupt, so I have to come back and make these closers individually. So, next section we're moving into is the individual classes. But you'll notice at the beginning it's actually a head fake. Just kidding. We're going to go talk about the weapons and then the armor. And all the different diversification within the loadouts that you get. And then we'll eventually get around to the individual classes after that. So, but thanks for watching. Feel free to subscribe if you want. I don't really post anything, so that's your discretion. Not recommended, but I appreciate it either way. So, but hey, stay tuned for the next episode. We'll see you later. Take care.